Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Over the past 10 days, I've been in Australia and New Zealand getting to enjoy this amazing World Cup, and as we near its end on August 20th when England and Spain play in the final, I wanted to recap 10 ways this FIFA World Cup has been so record-breaking. It's changed lives and it's changed the sport, and I wanted to talk a little about that. So let's get into it. Let's start off with our 8 debutantes: Haiti, Portugal, Morocco, Vietnam, Zambia, Ireland, Philippines, and last but not least, Panama. And with our World Cup expanding from 24 nations to 32, it's allowed for a lot more countries to participate. And something that's been so amazing to me is that these countries are up for the challenge. They've fought so hard and they've given high-level teams a challenge. And in this World Cup, we've seen New Zealand, Zambia, Philippines, and Portugal all secure their first World Cup wins and goals, and Morocco, an absolute shocker after losing 6-0 to Germany, was able to make it to their first ever knockout stage in their first ever World Cup. Next up, we are stretching the span, going from some of the oldest players this World Cup, like Canada's Christine Sinclair and the Nigerian captain, all the way down to our youngest ever World Cup player, Casey Fair, representing South Korea at the age of 16. We also have other 16-year-olds, such as from the Philippines, Italy, and Costa Rica. In addition to this tournament has also featured such quality from really young players, such as records broken by Salma Paralluelo from Spain, who became the first ever teenager to score for the winning team in a World Cup semifinal. We also have Lauren James, 21, who became the first ever English player to have direct involvement in 5+ goals in a single World Cup match. Next up, number 3, Australia and New Zealand become the first 2 nations to ever co-host a World Cup, as well as the first time this tournament is in the Southern Hemisphere. It features 9 locations, 5 in Australia and 4 in New Zealand. It is also the first time 32 nations are participating in a Women's World Cup, up from 24 in past years. This co-hosting may also start a new trend, as the 2026 Men's World Cup is going to be hosted by 3 nations, Canada, Mexico, and the US. And the 2027 Women's World Cup does not have a decided location yet, but 2 out of the 4 bids feature group hosting, as Belgium, Netherlands, and Germany want to host it, as well as Canada and Mexico. Number 4 is a sad one, as New Zealand narrowly got eliminated in the group stage after tying to Switzerland in their last match, making them the first ever host nation to get knocked out in the group stage. Number 5, and this one's a hard one for me as a US fan, but this is the first time the US has not won 2+ group stage matches. After winning back-to-back World Cups and finaling in 2011, as well as winning 4 total trophies, the US has always topped their group, and this is the first time they did not. In addition to this is the first time the US has crashed out in the round of 16. Other than that, they have always made a semifinal and either secured 3rd place, runners-up, or champions. So this is the first time they have not made quarterfinal or semifinal ever. Next up, we have number 6, and it's honestly hard to believe that neither of our World Cup finalists have ever been in that position before, England or Spain, and that's just proof that the gap in women's soccer is closing so quickly and the competition is getting way tighter. So let's recap some of those record-breaking achievements. Firstly, Jamaica reaches the knockout stage for the first time, becoming the first Caribbean nation to do so. Then, Colombia reaches the quarterfinal for the first time after their amazing group stage campaign. Then, Morocco fought their way back for a spot in the round of 16 for the first time ever as a debutante this World Cup. Australia also made its first ever semifinal while inspiring a nation throughout. Spain continues to break records. They not only reached their first quarterfinal, they made it to the semifinal and are now in their first final with the chance to be World Cup winners. And England, after consistently being knocked out in the semifinals, are finally in their first World Cup final. Next up, we have number 7, and let's talk a little behind the scenes with prize money and payouts. There are two main changes that have happened this World Cup. The first is an increase in performance-based prize money from $30 million to $110 million. And that's nowhere near the $400 million the men's World Cup gets, but it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully with more advertising and investment, the women's game can also increase. In addition to this, however, there are often corrupt federations, which means that the money doesn't get in the right hands, which is why FIFA has also created a per player guarantee based on where the team finishes, which ensures every player at least $30,000. A FIFA report in 2022 found that the average women's player globally is paid about $14,000. So these kind of payouts are actually life-changing, especially for smaller teams like Jamaica who had to fundraise just to be at the World Cup. Hopefully, these kind of efforts are going to make the women's game a more viable career and expand opportunities. Now we are on to number 8. Moroccan defender Nouhaila Benzina became the first player to wear a hijab in a World Cup. And even though FIFA lifted their ban in 2014, many federations still don't allow it today. That's why in the 2019 World Cup in France, she would not have been allowed to do this, as just 3 weeks before the 2023 World Cup, France upheld their law that bans all clothing clearly showing political, philosophical, religious, or union affiliation. In light of this historic moment, EA Sports updated its game before France took on Morocco in the round of 16, changing Benzina's game character, which previously did not have a hijab. Number 9 is about penalty shootouts, as they were heavily featured throughout this World Cup. Even though the US crashed out in the round of 16, US goalkeeper Alyssa Nair came up big when she became the first goalkeeper, man or woman, to convert her penalty in a World Cup match. In addition to this, in the Australia-France game, they set the record for the longest ever penalty shootout, 20 penalties total. It only ended when Courtney Vine from Australia came up 10th and converted her penalty to put Australia in the semifinal. Last but not least, there were more eyes than ever as this World Cup had record ticket sales and viewership. The Matildas, which are the Australian women's soccer team, created absolute Matilda mania with packed stadiums, even in Stadium Australia in Sydney, which had a capacity of over 75,000. In addition to this, the Australia versus France quarterfinal became the most viewed sporting event in Australia in 18 years. And there was backing from people like President Albanese to make it a national holiday if the Matildas won the tournament. But this viewership expands past Australia into countries like Germany, Colombia, and the US, as Fox reported 6.43 million people viewing the US versus Netherlands game, becoming a record for a World Cup group stage English language telecast. In addition to this, overall, there was an average of 4.35 million viewers per group stage match, which is a US record. For ticket sales, FIFA had a goal of 1.5 million, which they exceeded, selling 1.77 million tickets. And this exceeded the 2019 number of 1.1 million to 1.2 million, setting a new threshold. So, as we approach August 20th and get ready to crown a new World Cup champion, I hope you guys think about just how monumental this World Cup has been, both on and off the field, and just in generally expanding the women's game. If you guys are interested in more social and analytical World Cup, soccer, and sports content, go check out my blog at sportscentral.net and comment down below your favorite World Cup moments. Thank you so much for watching.